Hare Krishna. No, you play. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Mr. Paramahansa Parudikacharya Ashtokta Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnubhad Paramahansa Parudikacharya Ashtokta Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai Ananda Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Chakho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Narayanam namaskritya Narang chaiva narottamam Devim saraswatim vyasam Tato jayamudire. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances to Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nasta prayasha badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavad Yuttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord, who is glorified in transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. So forgive me for my space out, but we're going to read a little bit about Narahari Sarathakura before we read the Bhagavatam. This is his disappearance day. Hare Krishna.
We're grateful.
No, I know, but I did the introduction to Bhagavatam. Anyway, so thank you. No harm, no foul, as we say. Okay. Okay. So this is from the, let's see, where is this? Doesn't say. Sri Narahari Sarakar Thakur. Before meeting Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Narahari had written many Sanskrit and Bengali songs about the Braja Ras of Radha Giridhari. Later, he and Gadadhar Pandit always stayed with Lord Chaitanya. Narahari used to please the Lord by waving a chamara or peacock fan. Srila Thakur Bhaktivinoda Gaur Artik song glorifies this. Narahari Adi Kori Chamara Dulai. Narahari Sakar's family was the pride of the Vaishnavas. By their influence, all the people in Sri Khanda became Vaishnavas. The entire village turned into, quote, a branch of the desire tree of love of God. Since the time of Lord Gaurachandra, Sri Khanda has been a preaching center for Gaudiya Vaishnavism. One day, Sri Nityananda Prabhu came to Sri Khanda and asked Narahari, "All right, we know who you are, so where's the honey?" By his mystic power, Narahari turned a pot of water into super sweet honey for the Lord's pleasure. Narahari serves Lord Shyamasundar in Brajalila as Madhumati, a prana sakhi who supplies mouth-watering honey for Radha Damodar and their dear ones. And this is a quote from Sri Chaitanya Mangal. Sri Narahari Sakar's very being was saturated with Radha Krishna Prem. No one can fathom the depth of his devotion and pure love for Radha and Krishna. In Braja, he is Radha's dear Sakhi, Madhumati, a storehouse of sweetness. And in Gauranga Lila, he is Narahari, a storehouse of Radha Krishna Prem. Narahari Sakar's books, Pada Kalpataru and Krishna Bhajanamrita, include wonderful intimate songs praising Lord Gauranga and Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Narahari composed many ambrosial nectarian songs that overflow with the sweetest devotion. In Sri Krishna Bhajanamrita, Narahari teaches how to worship Sri Krishna and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Lochandas Thakur and many others were disciples of Narahari Sarakar Thakur. Although not accessible, his samadhi is in Radhakunda. Sri Narahari Sarakar Thakur ki jai.
Do we know why it's not accessible?
I don't know. Maybe it's underwater at this time. We can look that up. We'll try to find that. Okay. So the verse on the board is, where is that verse on the board? Yeah, but where's the board? Okay. Yeah. All right, I'm going to read a few translations leading up to that because to set the scene for something. So as we know, Ambarīṣa Mahārāja was a very, very strict Vaishnav, completely realized and beyond fear. So he was a very strict practitioner of Ekadashi, and which means to break it at the right time. That's one of the things. So just before the break time, if you will, Durvasa Muni alone came to visit Ambarīṣa Mahārāja, and he invited him for breakfast. So Durvasa Muni said, "Let me take bath first." So he took a bath, and time was going, and the time for breaking that fast was expiring, and Ambarīṣa was very strict about that. So he consulted his Brahmin advisors, and they didn't know exactly what to do. So he suggested, well, just drink some water, because that's breaking and not breaking the fast. And he didn't expect Durvasa Muni to be offended by that, and he shouldn't have been. So this is after, best of the Kuru dynasty, after Ambarīṣa drank some water, he, meditating upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart, waited for the return of the great mystic Durvasa Muni. After executing the ritualistic ceremonies to be performed at noon, Durvasa returned from the bank of the Yamuna. Now, you know from our own experience that noon is generally beyond the time when you have to break the fast. So, the king received... Yes?
Is there a backstory? Is there a reason that Durvasa Muni showed up? He wasn't spiteful, it was just by the arrangement of fate.
Well, that's the way...
He shows up,
Yeah.
he was sent by the Kurus, with the Pandavas were in the fort, just to, that was Duryodhana's plan to put the Pandavas in difficulty.
Yeah.
Is there a backstory?
You know,
I don't know if there is.
I was under the impression, maybe I was wrong, but I can research it, that he did this on purpose because Ambarīṣa was getting all this honor and, that whole thing, So I'll research it and let you know much. So after executing the rituals at noon, Dasa returned from the bank of the Yamuna. The king received him well, offering all respects, but Dasa Muni, by his mystic power, could understand that King Ambarīṣa had drunk water without his permission. Still hungry, Dasa Muni, his body trembling, his face curved, I'm not sure what that means, and his eyebrows crooked in a frown, angrily spoke as follows to King Ambarīṣa, who stood before him with folded hands. Alas! Just see the behavior of this cruel man. He is not a devotee of Lord Vishnu. Being proud of his material opulence and his position, he considers himself God. Just see how he has transgressed the laws of religion. Mahārāja Ambarīṣa, you have invited me to eat as a guest, but instead of feeding me, you yourself have eaten first. He drank a sip of water. This is what he did. Because of your misbehavior, I shall show you something to punish you. As Dasa Muni said this, his face became red with anger, uprooting a bunch of hair from his head. He created a demon resembling the blazing fire of devastation to punish Mahārāja Ambarīṣa. Taking a trident in his hand and making the surface of the earth tremble with his footsteps, that blazing creature came before Mahārāja Ambarīṣa. But the king, upon seeing him, was not at all disturbed and did not move even slightly from his position. Just imagine. As fire in the forest immediately burns to ashes an angry snake, so by the previous order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his disc, the Sudarshan Chakra, immediately burnt to ashes the created demon to protect the Lord's devotee. Upon seeing that his own attempt had failed and that the Sudarshan Chakra was moving toward him, Dasa Muni became very frightened and began to run in all directions to save his life. So that was 49. So we'll read 48, and I'll read the purport there. Pragdishtam, is that what it says? Okay. Pragdishtam Britya Rakshayam Purushena Mahatmana Tadaha Krityam Tam Chakram Kudhahim Iva Pavakaha Pragdishtam Britya Rakshayam Purushena Mahatmana Tadaha Krityang Tam Chakram Kudahim Iva Pavakaha Pragdishtam Britya Rakshayam Purushena Mahatmana Tadaha Krityang Tam Chakram Kurdahim Iva Pavakaha Pragdishtam Britya Rakshayam Purushena Mahatmana Tadaha Krityang Tam Chakram Kurdahim Iva Pavakaha Pragdishtam Britya Rakshayam Mahatmana Tadaha Krityam Tam Chakram Kurdahim Iva Pavakaha Pragdishtam Britya Rakshayam Purushena Mahatmana Tadaha Krityam Tam Chakram Kurdahim Iva Pavakaha Pragdishtam Britya Rakshayam Purushena Mahatmana Tadaha Krityam Tam Chakram Kurdahim Iva Pavakaha. Ladies? Pragdishtam Britya Rakshayam Purushena Mahatmana Tadaha Krityam Tam Chakram Kudhahim Vipavakaha Pragdishtam Bhritya Rakshayam Purushena Mahatmana Tadaha Krityam Tam Chakram Kudhahim Vipavakaha Pragdishtam Bhritya Rakshayam Purushena Mahatmana Tadaha Krityam Tam Chakram Kudahim Vipavakaha Pragdishtam, as previously arranged, Bhritya Rakshayam, for the protection of his servants, Purushena, by the Supreme Person, Mahāātmana, by the Super Soul, Tadaha, burnt to ashes, Krityam, that created demon, Tam, him, Chakram, the disc, Krudha, angry, Ahim, a serpent, Eva, like, Pavakaha, fire. All right, once more with the translation. As fire in the forest immediately burns to ashes an angry snake, so by the previous order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his disc, the Sudarshan Chakra, immediately burnt to ashes the created demon to protect the Lord's devotee. Purport. As a pure devotee, Mahārāja Ambarīṣa, although in such danger, did not move an inch from his position, nor did he request the Supreme Personality of Godhead to give him protection. He was fixed in understanding, and it was certain that he was simply thinking of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the core of his heart. A devotee is never fearful of his death, for he meditates on the Supreme Personality of Godhead always, not for any material profit, but as his duty. The Lord, however, knows how to protect his devotee. As indicated by the words pragdishtam, the Lord knew everything. Therefore, before anything happened, he had already arranged for his chakra to protect Mahārāja Ambarīṣa. This protection is offered to a devotee even from the very beginning of his devotional service. Kaunteya patijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. Bhagavad Gita 9:31. If one simply begins devotional service, he is immediately protected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 18:66. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayisyami. Protection begins immediately. The Lord is so kind and merciful that he gives the devotee proper guidance and all protection. And thus the devotee very peacefully makes solid progress in Krishna consciousness without outward disturbances. A serpent may be very angry and ready to bite, but the furious snake is helpless when faced by a blazing fire in the forest. Although an enemy of a devotee may be very strong, he is compared to an angry serpent before the fire of devotional service. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Sri Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, as pointed out earlier in this past time during classes, that this quality of being confident of Krishna's protection is one of the principal aspects of surrender. The surrender, the Sharanagati is this famous verse, Anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya bharjanam rakshishyatiti vishvaso goptvid vevadanam tata atmanikshepa karmane sadvada sharanagati. So these 6 principles, which we should know, the first one is to accept what things favorable for devotional service. And this means not only things, but also behaviors. And I always point out, I have pointed out in this context, getting up early is like the first thing. If you're serious about devotional service, you have to get up early. You may have a job, or of course if you're in a temple, and you know that's one of the first principles of surrender, getting up in time to take a bath and get ready for Mangalarti. So, and of course it's so important because the Brahma Muhurta hour, the period before sunrise, is so auspicious for spiritual activities. Generally, things are the quietest they're going to be in the outside world. And the mind can also more easily concentrate at that time on chanting the holy name and other things. So that's the first thing. But there are so many other things favorable, you know. And then there's the pratikulyasya bhajanam, to give up the things unfavorable. We know about the 4 regulative principles, but there's so many other things. The 10 offenses to the holy name. And there are also the 64 offenses in deity worship, such as spreading your legs before the deity, which doesn't mean spreading your legs before the deity, it means it's extending them toward the deity. I did research on that. That's what that means. That's what Prabhupada meant by that. So anyway, those should be understood. Prabhupada took so much trouble in giving us the nectar of devotion, the summary study of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And it gives us all of this explanation of what to do and what not to do. And it also describes the rasas of Krishna. It gives the 64 qualities of Krishna. I remember when I first encountered that in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, they're all there in the list. And I memorized the verses, you know, the 64 qualities. But in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and the Nectar of Devotion, you'll find examples of each one, which really, you know, if you study that, you'll get a very overall and robust picture of Krishna's personality, his activities and qualities and things. So the Nectar of Devotion gives you the instructions, but also the means of advancement. A very important book to study. And you'll find there, you know, these offenses to be avoided, not only the 10 offenses we chant against the holy name, but as I mentioned, the 64 offenses against that you have to be avoided in deity worship. So those are that's part of surrender, to know them and then to follow them. You know, that's the thing, to know all of these. Particularly sankalpa. Rakshishyatiti vishwaso, to be confident of the protection of the Lord. That's what we're reading about here. You can Mahārāja Ambarīṣa personifies that absolutely purely. And who is another devotee that comes to mind who personifies that? The movie. Think of the movie. Prahlad, of course. Prahlad, did he show any fear? Did he run away? No, he just, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. He was chanting the Lord and he was completely confident. And in the most amazing things, you know, he's thrown off a mountain, they tried to crush him with an elephant, boiling in oil, you know, and yet he still continued being completely confident. Krishna protected him at every step. So, and then this very interesting and significant statement Prabhupada makes in the purport, even from the very beginning of your devotional life, Krishna is protecting you. And that's so in Kaunteya Parijaina Me Bhakta Panashyati. Of course, here, as it was discussed, he's saying to Arjuna, you declare it, my devotee is never vanquished. You know, why? Because Krishna sometimes he'll tell a lie. You know, he told his mother he didn't break the pot. He does that, part of his lila. So that's, you know, he's fulfilling this statement. He's very anxious to fulfill it. So that's, and we see it throughout the Bhagavatam. You know, Krishna is protecting Arjuna from Bhishma Dev's attack. You know, and that, of course, that's a pastime. Bhishma Dev is in ecstasy. He's getting attacked by Krishna. He's also shooting arrows at him. It describes, which it says criticism, but they're like the kisses of a lover, bites. You know, this is what is mentioned in the Bhagavatam. So anyway, these things are at our present time are inconceivable. But this idea of protection from the very beginning is an important factor. And Srila Prabhupada worked so hard to develop the ISKCON society with all of these temples and ashrams. The temple ashram. This is what they go to, the mat is. The mat is a temple with an ashram, you know. So an ashram means a place of shelter, right? You're not only taking shelter from the influence of the material world, but you're also under Krishna's protection. And if we truly endeavor to surrender, then we'll feel that protection in so many ways, sometimes literally, you know. I mean, I don't want to go through the near-death experiences I had in my career of ISKCON, but I think everyone who's been around for a while, whether it's in a car or, and somebody was trying to pull that trick of like getting on the highway and then stopping in front of you so you'll crash into them and get an insurance thing. So that happened. I was able to stop in time. Krishna gave me enough intelligence. But you definitely experience that, and it increases your faith when you have an experience like that, and you're feeling Krishna's protection. And what is the most important protection we can all feel? Not in some exceptional thing that you feel, but the protection from the influence of Maya. If you're really chanting nicely and attending the programs and hearing and chanting and taking shelter of association, then you'll feel the pull of the material energy, which is, after all, the ropes that bind us, those attractions, weakening very quickly. And Prabhupada was so brilliant in the way he started the movement. So much emphasis on chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, whether he's up in that, that loft, in the Bowery, the program, a lot of chanting, and then nice talk, a lot more chanting, and prasadam. You see? This is the basic outline of every Sunday feast. So you get a taste. And someone who walks in there and a little open to the experience, you're going to feel the influence of the chanting, the beautiful, wonderful chanting, the devotees dancing and everything. And the prasadam should always be very excellent and attractive, and that's attract anybody who eats. So, and the protection is there. You don't know it, but the weakening of the bonds, of the knots in the heart, that middle material attractions are a form of protection. Because after all, what is it that keeps us coming back? Those knots in the heart, those unfulfilled desires, our materialistic conditioning. So immediately, because of the power of Lord Chaitanya's movement and the holy name and Sankirtan and Prasadam and especially pure association, that's the most, let's say, obvious or visceral form of protection that you can feel if you're actually taking it. And it's the most important. Of course, sometimes it comes in a very graphic way, like here and with Prahlad, and so many other instances we find in the Shastra, that the great devotees are protected. I'm also thinking of Jai and Vijay. Nityananda, he was fearless. He was out there, the first time, of course they ran away, that was part of the pastime. But then the second, he goes back and he gets hit by this shard, which is a piece of a pot, and he's bleeding, and he's not even shaken. Then he asks again, I don't mind, please chant Hare Krishna. So this affected Jagai, especially. And then because they had been raised as Brahmins, they still had that, So he was suddenly realized the character and the purity of this great devotee. So when Madai, in his mad and drunken madness, is going to throw another pot, he stopped him. And if you remember what happened, that saved Jagai. Because when Lord Chaitanya came, Nityananda said, "No, Jagai saved me." You see? So he blessed Jagai with pure love of God. And then Madai said, "Well, I can get the same thing." Well, no, you have to go to Nityananda. So the whole thing ended up, they completely were cleansed of their years-long demoniac tendencies. They had fallen from Brahminical life. And from that powerful association and the chanting and Lord Chaitanya's influence, they became great devotees, prema bhaktis. And if you read it, I highly recommend you go to if you have the Veda base. I don't know if it's on the online. It probably is in the online. The Chaitanya Bhagavat is there, a nice translation of it. And with Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's commentary is also there. And it's that Jagai Madai pastime, if you read the whole thing in all its details, it's just overwhelming. And so important for us. Because, I can relate. I mean, I wasn't that bad, Jagai and Madai, but I was certainly immersed in Maya and would have been helpless without the influence of the devotees and Prabhupada's mercies, starting the movement and setting up these temples, and of course the books. So that this is a confirmation. Prabhupada said this confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, Aham tvam sarvabhavi moksha yasyami, that you just surrender and I will protect you. I will negate all of your sinful reactions, which is the greatest protection. So that's there. And significantly, if you remember, Ambarīṣa didn't request for protection. He was completely surrendered. If it comes, it comes. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. You know, this is such a high, inconceivable state. In death or in life, I know that I'm not going to die. Nobody dies, right? Then I'll continue my service to Krishna. So you can imagine how advanced that is. You know how amazing this state is. But that's what Prabhupada wanted us to come to. And there were so many instances, I mean, where there was great danger. And Prabhupada would tell, he was there in LA when an earthquake hit, you know. And he says, oh, this is so dangerous, you know, mostly the screaming takes place, mostly among the women. They're screaming, because you think, oh, death is coming, you know. The devotees also. I remember this incident, and this was such an incredible thing in LA. Shortly after I got there, I think it was in 1975, yeah. And many of you, I guess practically every one of you have been up to that temple on Watseka Avenue. So you know there's this Venice Boulevard, which has 2 or 3 lanes on each side. But when I got there were only 2 lanes. It hadn't been, so they were widening it, you know. So there was a lot of construction going on, you know, and we would deal with that. And some devotees lived across the street, across Venice Boulevard. So anyway, apparently the fellows who were widening it, they were in the middle with a big bulldozer, you know, digging up and doing it. And they didn't realize that up in the hills, if you know that there's some hills behind there, the oil well is up there. But apparently there's also a refinery up there refining gasoline. And it was being pumped down through a pipe, you know, across Venice Boulevard down to the sea to get, you know, on a boat and everything. So that was going on for years. So the guy who was driving the bulldozer didn't know that. He hits that thing, and it ignites, and he died right away. And there was this huge conflagration, this pillar of fire right in the middle, because it was under pressure and it was gasoline. And everyone was, oh my God, you know? And we had this bus at that time for going out on Harinam. It was a school bus. And the Bajaris were going nuts because it seemed like it was going to spread to the temple. They'd take all those clothes, you know, and they had sewn a lot of them themselves. And to load them onto that bus and get them away, you know. And we kept hearing this rumor, oh my God, the gasoline is now leaking down into the pipes on, you know, the sewer, and it's going to blow up the whole block, you know, because it didn't. But that was what the devotees were thinking. So I took part in getting those clothes on. I saw one devotee, I won't give his name, he had packed a bag and he was running down the street. There was only one devotee who did that. But Krishna, amazingly, no devotees were hurt. It was this incredible, I mean, it was in the newspapers and everything, and for days, you know, there's a lot of sannyasis there, they're giving a talk on, you know, how Krishna protects. You know, it was an amazing thing. But, so that's just what material life is like. There's danger at every step, a danger at every turn, you know, in I-5 and everywhere. So that's why we have to remember Krishna at every moment. That's the thing. If you're chanting, then you're ready for anything. And that's what Ambarīṣa, he didn't change his program. He's continuing to remember Krishna and be there and be tolerant, and he was protected. So that protection is one of the elements, you know, Rakshit, and also Gopritve Varanantata, to be confident of his maintenance. That's a big thing. That you know, to join the temple, in the old days, I guess it's still that way, means to be, you know, depend on the facilities. Sometimes they're very meager, sometimes they're more opulent, but whatever Krishna provides, and you go on with the service, you know. That is a very important principle of surrender. And not manikshape the karpanya. Then the last one is to surrender everything and to always remain meek and humble, you know. Trinada Bisunichena. That's why it's so important. So this is why the Bhagavatam, you know, the Bhagavatam is so essential. It's foundational because we have these examples, these historical examples of these great devotees who in their pastimes manifested this incredible tolerance and austerity, and also preaching. This is another part of Prahlad's lesson to us in his prayers. I always like to quote these verses. Prabhupada loved to quote them. That he's offering his prayers, and near the end he says, "Naivod vijay padadodatya vaittaranyas twadviya gayana mahamatamang chitta." Now in those two lines, he's saying, I'm not at all disturbed, and meaning also I wasn't at all disturbed during this ordeal, so to suppose it, because wherever I am, I can sing your glories and be immersed in an ocean of nectar. Literally. Twadviya gayana, Mahamrita, the great nectar, dive into that ocean of nectar. I'm in Magna Chitta. I can, just like the six Goswamis. Gopi Bhavara Sarmatabla Hari Kalola Magno Mahur. That they were so austere, living as more renounced as you can imagine. But they were the wealthiest. They had given up especially Raghunath Das Goswami and Rupa and Sanatan, gave up tremendous wealth and influence. Just throw it away and surrender to Lord Chaitanya. And at every moment they're diving into an ocean of nectar of Gopi Bhava. They're the wealthiest, although they look like the poorest. They had clothes, they're wandering from tree to tree. But actually they're the wealthiest. So these wonderful examples are there, and in our own devotional careers, we know that if we perform some sincere service and we surrender, then we feel comfortable. And even if we come back and all the prasadam has been taken or there's hardly anything left, we say, that's, I'll tolerate, It shouldn't be like that, but it may happen. So that is how Krishna blesses us. He cuts the material attractions and he binds the spiritual attractions to him. That famous verse, Anasakta Sibhishayanyata Mupajanda Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yuktam Vairagya Muchate. This is in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. What is real Vairagya? That the things of this world, engaging them appropriately as far as possible in the service of the Lord, including our own senses, mind, intelligence, and everything. Anasakta Sibhishayan, without attachment and engaging. Where appropriate, yatam upayunjata. Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe. And in this way, you don't remain bound to those objects of the senses because you're engaging with Krishna. But you become more and more bound to Krishna. Nirbandhe Krishna Sambandhe. Yuktam Vairagya Muchate. And the other side, what is the Polgu Vairagya? Polgu literally means weak, And the Prabhupada gave the example of the Polgu River. There's a river in India, there's probably more than one, but there's one known as the Polgu River. It flows very nicely, except in the summer, then it dries up and it's a dry bank. But if you push your hand down in that bank, you find water, you see? So this is the impersonalist. Prapanchikataya abhajya hari sambandhi vastundak mumukshubi padityago vairagya polgu kachite. So prapanchikataya means even those things that are related, they see the deity, it's just stone. This is said to be a hellish mentality. There's a verse like that. And whatever thing, this is all matter, these paintings and everything. But we want to go beyond that, So that's prapanchikataya hari sambandhi, seeing everything as material, even those things directly related to Krishna. Mumukshabi, those who desire liberation, The devotees ultimately don't desire liberation. But anyway, that's all I desire. So parityago, they give everything up. Try to give everything up. Parityago. Tyaga and vairagya are different. Tyaga. Mumukshabi parityaga vairagyam polgu katyate is known as polgu vairagya, weak vairagya, and it's compared, the analogy is this river. If you look into the hearts of these vairagis, there's all kinds of desires in there. And that's why Prabhupada always quoted that verse, Yein ye arvindaksha vimuktamaninas, tvayastabhavat avishuddha buddhya, aruha kritsena parang badangtata, patang jado nadrida yushmarangaya. This is spoken by the demigods. When Krishna is in the womb, he's going to take birth. So they hide in a corner somewhere and they're not seen, but they have these prayers in the 10th canto. And this is the most famous one. So they're praising the devotees, then they say, but there are others, ye anye adavindaksha, O lotus-eyed Lord, whose intelligence is not purified. And a few of them, through severe austerities, can rise up the Brahman platform. Just imagine what it's trying to be, to try to become detached from this world. No holy name, no prasadam, no kirtan, no deities, no Krishna book, just you and out there, with your mind, and train it. That's why it's Anamanapiya, so many austerities, to do that. And a few can rise up to Brahman, but they come back, patantyado, they fall down again. Because there's no Krishna there. That's why it's hellish for a devotee. Kaivalyang narakayate. Because bhakti requires three things. It requires Krishna, and the bhakta, and the process of devotional service. But in Kaivalya, in Brahman, there's none of that. You don't have a body, you don't have a form. The Brahman is formless, it's nirvishesha. So where's the nectar? Oh, I'm liberated, no more birth, oh, okay, How long can they stay enlivened with that? So they come down, start some hospitals or something, So that's the big contrast. The devotee from the very beginning is tasting the nectar if you're really sincere, and that nectar is the antidote to material attraction. And we should become very greedy for that nectar, right? That's one of the verses by Ramananda Roy. So it's 8:30. Let's a little discussion on this point. If you have some questions or comments, we have one here. Go ahead, Babu.
On this topic of protection for devotees, Krishna's special protection for devotees, I've yet to make sense of when we talk about faith-building experiences such as being saved from a near car accident and so on, or if we look at like the accident in LA with the fire and the gas, the oil and so on, then at least it seems to me that if devotees not dying in such a disaster is a faith builder for devotees, then it would only seem fair that when devotees do die from such disasters, that would be a faith breaker for devotees. So if we set up ourselves to have faith based on these times when devotees don't die, when they could have died, then what is meant to happen to our faith when devotees do die from these things? And so like it could if it increases my faith when I don't die from a car accident, what happens when I hear about how His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami departed from a car accident? Yeah. And it seems the life expectancy of a Vaishnava is no greater than the life expectancy of the average karmi. Mm. And in fact, when you look at like sannyasis and brahmacharis, it seems the life expectancy is lower than the average man. So when it comes to physical protection, I'm curious. Now, sometimes if I ask this, devotees go the route, well, Krishna gives the real protection is remembrance of Krishna, which is solid. But so then I'm wondering, well, are we doing a bait and switch when we talk about Krishna gives protection, and then we talk about these physical kinds, examples of where Krishna gave physical protection from a natural disaster, from a car accident, from cancer, where a devotee heals. So, and then someone says, well, I know devotees who passed away, great devotees, they passed away from cancer, in like their 30s. So, and then, well, the real protection is remembering Krishna. But if the real protection is remembering Krishna, then why emphasize the former examples? But so I don't know. Is there a good
well, I mean, the thing is, that's what's happening here.
Yeah.
And in other words, the example is given here. So I think it's both. But that famous verse, "Tatteno kompam susamikshramano," has to be applied as well. That things are going to happen to you. It may not be life-threatening, but there'll be difficulties in material life. I mean, even in spiritual life, we still have to deal with the material world, material body. So that verse is very important to understand. Okay, I'm getting some karma. I got the flu or I got COVID, but I recovered. But that was a danger. I mean, no devotees didn't pass from COVID. So in the case where it's serious but not life-threatening, or it doesn't, it's not fatal, then we could say, oh, okay, then I was scheduled to get, my karma was scheduled to be much worse, but Krishna minimized it. And in the case of something that materially good that happens, oh great, Krishna's so kind, he's given me more chance to serve him. So in this way, either way. But we have these examples. I mean, you can apply that to this and to Prahlad, that there was tremendous physical danger, but Krishna directly protected them. And you can say, well, okay, but these are super pure devotees, you know, and then we can understand. But I think it's a matter of degree. I mean, Prabhupada says right here that Krishna protects from beginning of devotional service. And I mean, I know devotees who, you know, broke a limb or something like that. There was one devotee in Brooklyn who I think got a brain tumor, and, you know, which is serious, obviously. But the main thing is as you say, is the consciousness that if you're sincerely praying and praying and praying and calling out to Krishna in every circumstance, then that in itself is a protection of your conscience. The fact that you're inspired to do that out of faith. And I mean, what came to mind while you were speaking, this tragic incident in India where a mother and daughter died in a plane crash. You know, they were going from Delhi to Calcutta or somewhere. Yeah. Yeah. And, okay, well, how did we think about that? Okay, well, you know, if they were the Krishna conscious, they were chanting like anything at the time. You even told your story about turbulence on that plane that you were traveling to India. So the idea is that, okay, so Krishna has saved me here from this, and now I have a chance to do more service. You know, he wants to do that. Or Krishna, you know, that devotee was a sincere devotee, and he was maybe even surrounded by other devotees, although he got very sick, you know, and he was only 35 years old, but he got cancer, you know, that's happened. But because he was so sincere, and he was in the association of devotees, and he was hearing Krishna consciousness, so Krishna provided that kind of protection. So yes, I understand that, but the examples we have in the Bhagavatam are here. It's the same example. So both kinds of protection are there, and we have to see that if someone is sincerely Krishna conscious, it ultimately doesn't matter that if they're chanting, you know, the car is out of control and you're flipping over, then they're whether they pass away or don't, the protection is there because their conscience is protected. So that's ultimately the way I see it. But sometimes these happen here, and I think these kind of protections take place. And especially when you find very advanced devotees, you know, how many, I mean, Krishna's pastime in Vrindavan, he's killing these demons who are threatening Vrindavan, you know, all the time. So again and again, the devotees who don't know he's God, they're calling out to Krishna, Krishna save us. And he always does. So it's...
I'd like to hear, if you want to, Mahārāja, what do you have to say?
Yeah, how would you do?
And to reset, if we use the argument that, you know, Krishna saving a devotee is a sign of faith, then why not when someone dies or fails or, you know, whatever, why isn't that proof that Krishna doesn't protect his devotee? That's Mukunda's question, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's hear what Mahārāja has to say. Thank you.
Okay, sure.
I found myself agreeing with Dravida. It's the same thing. And this is a conversation that came up in my family for 40 years. My wife and daughters would bring up these troublesome questions. And the fact is that we live in the material world and things happen. And we don't always understand why. So if our faith depends on some big sign, as Dravida says, that's kind of weak faith. So you know that means that we're demanding something from Krishna. It becomes a business transaction rather than just surrendering. So our examples are people like Prahlad, people like Mahārāja Ambarīṣa. And those examples are there for a reason, I think. I don't think these are particularly satisfactory answers. You deal with the whole business of theodicy, suffering in the material world. If God is all powerful and He's all good, all loving, why do people die? And even in
I can deal with that because it was a big question until there's karma and reincarnation, and it's a trajectory of many lives. So that can define evil for me. And why do good things happen to bad people and bad things happen to good people? Okay, I'm fine with that. And I agree with both your answers. I'm just trying to fluff it out a little bit more. Does that mean that we really, because just like it's describing here, Ambarīṣa Mahārāja is being glorified for his surrender. He's not being used as an example, we'll just see Krishna saves his devotees. It's being shown that a devotee in all circumstances accepts what Krishna does and takes shelter of Krishna. So do we, and it's not a trick question, I'm just working through it, just like Mukunda, I'm just working it through with my mind. Then should we really not use examples that say, well, just see, God, I saw a bumper sticker, God is good to me now. Well, does that mean God wasn't good to you earlier? And what does it mean? I won the lottery, so God's good to me now. So should we not use these examples of Prahlad and Dhruva Mahārāja? They were Prahlad and Ambarīṣa, that, just see, Krishna saves his devotees, but rather we should use them to show how they were equipoised in every condition. Is that scratch closer to your question, Mukunda?
That's what Dhruva mentioned. Shastra does both. So it's curious to me about understanding.
Oh, where's the other mic? Down to one mic. Oh,
I think Bhadranath
okay,
Swami, was reiterating it well. And as Dhruva was pointing out, it's not just that devotees give these examples, but Shastra itself does, so we can't really argue with that. I guess I'm wondering, is there some way that I can grasp it in my head in a way where I could also, confidently reiterate that to someone and feel like, I just said something logical, something that really was, cohesive. Is there some cohesive way of explaining both of these things, and how do I really see that in the world? Does that really fit my reality of what I see with devotees and their departures and their protection, physical protection, otherwise? Mm-hmm. But as you pointed out, I can't just say that, well, the real protection is remembrance of Krishna, because like in this verse and other verses, it really is emphasizing physical protection too, but I just don't yet know how to piece that in.
Yeah.
So.
You know what I'd like to do? I'd like to write to Niranjan Swami and have to Niranjan Swami about how the devotees over Ukraine, but from what I understand, they're still enthusiastically going out and preaching and doing Krishna consciousness and distributing, and even though there's so much danger. And I'm sure some devotees have died.
Please do that, kid. It's serious.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those ethical questions we get hit with. Like, why 6 million Jews? Hey, everybody dies. Why are you talking about 6 million? Okay, I've got answers for those. But I would be interested in the refinement.
Yeah.
You can give class. Next time you give class, let me know.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I will write him about it, because it's incredible that they're still enthusiastically practicing Krishna consciousness and Harinam and everything in spite of the bombs.
Well, it's not like we. Are we one mic?
No, he's got. All right.
Maybe he's got something more to say. But I was thinking about it the other day, like checkers and chess.
Mm-hmm.
checkers is like a two-dimensional, simple, basic rules. I mean, it takes intelligence and all, but it's a pretty simple.
Yeah.
Whereas chess is multi-dimensional, and there's, you know.
Yeah.
So we're looking at the world as checkers, and Krishna's playing chess. So, I mean, that's what happened out in Escondido. Everybody's mind was blown, you know. This is not how we expected it to unfold.
Yeah.
So what is our right or position to expect Krishna to act in a way or to conform to what we see as justice or morality? We don't know what the hell's going on. Really, sorry about my French, but we just surrender to Krishna. And we have faith that Krishna is all good, all absolute. He knows what he's doing. It's a good thing I'm not steering the bus, because he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
You want to add anything? I mean, I don't want to make us miss breakfast, but
Oh, I want to
I just think it's a valuable topic.
Yeah, and there's a really noticeable degree of arrogance in demanding that the absolute truth behave according to our. Krishna says, as far as karma,
Put it in the sutra. Say it one more time.
as far as karma is concerned, Krishna tells us that it's impossible to untangle. And he says, Gahana karma no gati, that the way of karma is very mysterious. And you know, we demand that the world behave according to our immediate convenience and understanding. You know, Prabhupada used to give the example that we don't even know how our nails and hair are growing. We don't really understand what that's about. But we want to figure out how and then we want to figure out just how Krishna shows his affection for different devotees. And if he, as he says himself, if someone's very dear to him, he'll take everything away.
Yeah.
There are a few of us around the room and out around the town who have that experience.
Okay.
All right, I think we better adjourn. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll adjourn and
I feel much better.
see?
I gotta blame Krishna.
Hare Krishna.